In front of us, we have the Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds, and we will be doing battery replacements on both the left and the right side. And just for reference on the model number, that would be 429708. So this should be the first generation, the QC1. To get started, what we're gonna do is we'll just heat up right along this edge here. We're gonna take off the cover, unsolder the battery and solder on new battery and seal it back up. We will do this for both sides, and we'll start off work on the right side first. So we're gonna set our air gun to 170 degrees Celsius, right about there with 70 airflow.
With the earbud warm to the touch, you can now start using a thin pry tool in the gap on the outside of the housing to just lift that exterior housing off of the earbud. You do need to kind of work your way all the way around the seam, cutting the glue until it loosens up, but then you should just be able to pry it off. Just be careful because it is attached to the housing via a ribbon cable that you'll just detach once you open the earbud up. Next, you need to lift up this small ribbon cable off of the PCB. You can just use a little nylon spudger. And then this PCB itself needs to get lifted up, as the soldered connections for the battery are just right under there. So we have the black wire and the red wire just soldered straight to that smaller board. And we'll just apply some solder flux before we start heating them up, just so that we don't have to heat them for very long with the soldering iron. That'll just help protect the board. As you can see, it was just really quick there. And then you can use tweezers to just pull the wires out of the way. Then we'll repeat those steps for the other connections on the battery, and then you should just be able to lift the battery up. It's just adhered to the board, but there are a couple connections that you just want to make sure are desoldered before you lift it. It should just come off the board pretty easily once you have those off though. Once you have the battery removed, there's some leftover adhesive in the housing that you can just scrape out just to make room for the new battery. And you can just use your nylon spudger to carefully scrape that out of the housing. Try not to use anything too sharp or hard like a metal object. And if you do, just be very careful to not damage the circuit board that's in there. Next, we're going to use some flux and then a blob of solder to kind of tin the spots on the board where we're going to solder the new battery in place. This will make it so that we can solder it in much more quickly, since there's a fresh blob of solder there that we can just easily submerge the wire in.
So right here, I will say on the battery R, and I'll go with the right side.
Now we'll go ahead and solder the new battery in place. The wire just fits easily into that blob of solder that we put on the board, and then the other connection from the battery direct to the other blob should just be pretty easy to connect. You just want to make sure that you don't use too high of a heat. We usually solder around 750 degrees Fahrenheit, and you can solder up to 800 if you need to, but you just want to be really quick with it so you don't damage the board. And then we'll just go ahead and push that battery down into its place, and then cover it back up with that PCB, and then apply the little ribbon cable to its connector on the PCB as well, and just make sure that that's all sealed up real good. Speaking of sealing things back up, we're using our cold press glue and a syringe here to put a little blob on top of the ribbon cable to just make sure that that does not come loose. If the earbuds get dropped in the future, once you have them sealed back up, something like that, you just want to make sure that the ribbon cable is secure on there. Then you can also use the syringe or the bottle of glue that you got from us to just run a thin line around the edge of the housing. You just want to make sure that that line is constant, so there's no breaks in it that could allow moisture in, sweat, water, other liquids. So that constant line will help give you the best waterproofing ability. And we'll take a second to just let that glue dry, and we'll use some sort of plastic tool like this spudger that we're using, just so we don't scratch up the plastic housing, to remove all of the old adhesive that could cause gaps or anything for moisture to come into the earbuds. And once that's clean, then you can just go ahead and apply the exterior shell to the housing. You just want to make sure that it's lined up so that the Bose logo is the right direction, and you get that ribbon cable lined up before you actually put the housing on, and just clip that into place. And then you can just press down on the housing and make sure that it's sealed and flush all the way around. If there is any adhesive that leaked out of the edges, you can just use a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol on it. We usually use about 99% pure isopropyl alcohol on a Q-tip, and the glue should just come right off. And then you're just going to want to wrap it in a rubber band or put it in a clamp or something for about 24 hours just to make sure that that glue has enough time to fully set up before you start using it again. The steps for the left side are basically the exact same as the right side. It's just things are going to be flipped, kind of mirror imaged, but you can just follow those same steps. It's pretty simple. You just have to unsolder those couple of connections, pull the battery out, obviously pull the housing out before all of that, And yeah, if you have any questions for us, feel free to let us know in the comments below. We'd love to answer them for you. We do offer parts and repairs and service on our website for various models of earbuds and headphones and speakers and laptops and tablets, that sorts of stuff. So if you have questions about that, also feel free to drop a comment or head over to our website, and we are more than happy to help you out. Thanks so much for watching.
If you guys love what we do, please support us. You guys can click on the links that we have on the end screen. You guys can buy our parts, sales, or service so we can continue to make great videos for you guys for many more years. Thank you.